Greetings, traveler. Come warm yourself by the fire and let us regale you with mighty tales, tales of adventure, tales of heroism, tales of Tamriel. I am your host, Aggelos, and that awesome intro music that you just heard was by the amazingly talented Family Jewels. If you want to hear this song as well as all of his other amazing video game covers, go ahead and check him out over at youtube.com/FamilyJewels7x. As always, I am joined by the one, the only Arkhaniir Silver Shield himself.
Hello.
There you go. How you doing?
I like that intro, Arkhaniir Silver Shield.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I got dumbfounded for a second. you normally start with something to make me angry at the beginning of the show, so that was off-throwing.
Yeah, see, that was almost as much as actually saying something to about my Sexplar. That was probably even more distracting than the Sexplar comment, because you're like, wow, I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, I was prepared for it, but yeah.
I was prepared for the Sexplar, was not prepared for that. Yeah, I think it's slightly because I am beardless. And you'll notice that I'm in game and I'm playing a Mer character because I feel like I am not manly enough to play my Nord anymore. I felt it was only right.
You are a Dunmer, yeah.
Yeah. I was so ashamed that I therefore now feel like I'm not ready to be, a Nord, and therefore I must play a filthy Mer. It's a sad day.
It will grow back though. So
I know. It's funny because even at work, one of my bearded brothers, which by the way, if you didn't realize this, as soon as you grow a beard, you're part of this elite brotherhood of other bearded men, where regardless of whether or not you've ever talked to them before, they just automatically salute you. It's kind of like being a biker, like you just do it to all the other bikers. Like they know you, and therefore you are one of them. Yeah. He pretty much stumbled in the hallway going, "What happened to your beard?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm sorry." He's like, "I can't believe you gave up on the beard game." I'm like, "No, I didn't. I needed a fresh start." Like, cause I was doing some trimming and I, just did not like the way it was growing in. It was getting a little ragged, and I was like, you know what? I got all this new beard oil. I got all this like beard shampoo. I got all this stuff I can care for it, but I feel like the beard I have now is just too far gone, and therefore I was like, okay, nope, I'm shaving it all off, and I'll just start over from from the beginning, and I'll just do everything right the first time, and then it'll be better. Well, I look like a cancer patient. Not saying anything to any poor people going through cancer right now, but I do. I'm like bald. I have no beard. It's pretty bad. It's really bad.
It will go back.
I know.
It's just a matter of better caring for it when it does grow back.
Yes, definitely. Better care is needed to make sure that it is at peak beard efficiency. And yeah, it's just now I have to hide my face for the next couple weeks. In fact, have you ever seen the movie Robin Hood Men in Tights? Maybe. Nope. Okay, it's old. It's like an 80s movie. Actually, I think it was early 90s. But anyone who grew up probably knows a little bit about it. At one point, the lead character he's in Jerusalem. It's during the Crusades. Obviously, it's a parody of Robin Hood, right? So he's in the Crusades, and he shows up to a Islamic prison in Jerusalem, right? And the joke is, obviously he didn't have a beard. And the guy's playing a maitre d', comes walking in and goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I cannot seat you unless you have the proper attire." Like you would if you went to a fancy restaurant. And so they show up, and then the guy's like turns around and attaches a fake beard to his face and said, "There we go. All right." I feel like that's what I need right now is a fake beard, because
either a fake beard or just don't leave the house for like 2 weeks or something.
If I worked at home, yeah, I would. The sad part is my facial hair does not grow in that quickly, so it might be longer than 2 weeks, and it's gonna make me very sad. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna have to figure something out,
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
All
at least you'll be able to show people what the beard, like, how much difference beard makes. Like, you can be the example of that.
Yeah.
Take that to heart as a quest.
It didn't help that Discord is, in loving nature, decided to link me a bunch of beard songs saying if your father doesn't have a beard, you just have two beardless mothers. It's all in good fun. But yes, no. They're just making me cry all night. Like, I didn't even know if I wanted to be on the show at this point. I'm like, I don't know. I just don't feel right about myself. And I see chat room right now is telling me, turn the camera on, embrace the restart. I'm like, nope. I need at least some sort of scruff before I'm willing to do that. I linked to pictures in Discord, and I was shamed when I did so. So, no, definitely not. All right, let's go ahead and just roll right on into the show. We'll be over my my crying beard problems, and we'll go right into our tales. Ark, what have you been doing?
Well, unfortunately, I've only done one thing Elder Scrolls related this week, because I was working and then thinking on some stuff, etc., and I didn't have much time. And when I had the time, I played some other games, unfortunately. But I did.
Hey, you got to flirt
what?
with a skeleton, dude. That's all I'm saying.
I got to what?
You got to flirt with a
Oh,
skeleton.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's...
I did play Undertale, yeah. That game is strangely amazing. Like, I was not expecting.
I hear amazing things about it. If you don't get a chance, you definitely should head over twitch.tv/Arkhaniir. Arkhaniir's been taking up the streaming. He's been doing a lot of streaming on his own. He's been doing some really cool stuff, and I think you should definitely give him a follow. If you're following DCN, you should follow him as well. So go check out his channel. But he's been playing Undertale, and I've been watching while I'm at work because it's entertaining, because he streams when I'm at work and I'm often bored. So I watch Ark, and I don't know, dude. I just don't know.
Thank you for the sneak in shout out as well. Like,
Yeah, no problem.
But yeah, that game is great. Actually, that would fall under dungeon crawler, yeah? Kinda, it does.
It would.
We could talk about it some other time, not on Tales, but
Some other time, absolutely, we could definitely do that. I wish I could say more about it, but from whenever I watch it with you, I'm just sitting there going, I have no idea what's going on. This is like someone designed this.
I have no idea either. Like, I'm playing the game, but I have no idea either.
They designed the entire game while on an acid trip. That's literally what I feel like is what they did. They had some bad shrooms. They did the entire game while high. And I mean, hey, I can't complain really, but yeah, that's kind of what I feel like they did. And anyway, all right, continue.
Yeah. So, we did Veteran Dragonstar Arena with Drunkenborns over on EU side. And I gotta say, I missed it a lot. Like, I haven't done it since we did it with like Kipster, you, and I don't remember who was the fourth. Was it Avi?
What? It might have been Avi. It might have been Avi Optimal, yes, because I think he was rocking the Templar heals at the time, because it was you tanking, me DPSing, Kipster DPSing.
Yep.
And then, I think that sounds about right.
I think it was Avi. But yeah, I haven't done it at all since we did it like that. And man, I think that's the best. That's still the best 4-man content in the game. The chaos, the difficulty is still there. To be honest, it felt more difficult than White Gold Tower on Veteran Hard mode and whatnot. And the chaos is there. The need of communication. Basically, it's everything I would want from a 4-man dungeon. And I love it. There are things that I want to mention that I can't due to the family friendliness of the show, but you do remember the names we put on creatures. Right?
I do remember the names that we put on those specific.
The flying one, the swinger.
We'll call it the swinging anatomy.
Yep.
But yeah.
Oh, actually, it was not Avi. I think it was one of Kipster's friends. I don't remember the name.
Oh, I know
Starting
exactly.
with S, I think.
Yes, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yes, no,
Good times.
it was good, and I don't think I've done it again since then. That's kind of the sad part. Like, I haven't even done it.
Yeah, this is the first time for me as well. And it's a lot more fun than most four-man contents currently in the game. So we definitely should do it again on North American side too.
I agree. I love the group content, so I am all for doing that kind of stuff, because that is something that I really do. I enjoy the 4-man content. Group content is some of my favorite things to do in any game, to be honest. That is definitely something we should do again, because I would be totally down for that.
I wonder if they'll bring another like arena like Dragonstar Arena. Not just solo content, but similar to Dragonstar Arena, but just with different mechanics, different theme.
Well, so far, I mean, obviously something we're going to talk about later is the Clockwork City and their mini trial, the Asylum, which it's a trial, but it's not the same way as a normal trial. I wish I knew more about what all it contained, but I feel like we have 3 types of weapons now, right? Like we have the 4-man group content through master weapons. We have the solo content through Maelstrom, and now we're going to have a 12-man content to get essentially a master weapon via
Asylum weapons.
Asylum. Yes, the Asylum. Yeah. So we have all of that now coming forward, which is definitely cool.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm curious, and I like the way they're doing the trial, which we'll talk about again. Maybe we should hold on to the trial stuff, but I like that they're providing options of doing it, not just difficulty, but actual mechanical options. So, Ark, remind me to talk about that, because that is something I have a lot of info on, but I feel like it's better once we're done with Tales.
Okay, will do.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's about it. Unfortunately, my Tales part, but we didn't complete it. We got to the round before the last.
Okay.
And then man, tanking got so hard. I mean, it was utter chaos.
The final round is tough too, because
yeah. The final round, because it spawns 3 ads.
Yep.
One of which has an instant shot mechanic, like the Storm Ring, whatever thing. The other one knocks you down, and the other one just chases you around. I don't remember what it does, but while our DPS was down, killing the skeletons or ghosts, whatever down the portal, Healer and I was trying to stay alive, and the resource drain is so hard. While you have to keep running, because one of them you have to kite around.
Yep.
Then you have to keep taunting them so they don't kill the healer. Then you have to block, because there is the one guy that gets to you, knocks you down, and the other ad kills you instantly. It was utter chaos, and after a while, it was way too late as well, and people needed to sleep, so we stopped there. But yeah, I definitely missed that. Missed DSA.
Yeah, no, the DSA was one of my favorite things. And I mean, obviously, I think we've talked about that multiple times on this show, that some of the best times that we've ever had in this game, I mean, obviously, all of us love the lore of this game. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I still play, is lore for this game, because it's so good. But one of the other things is, this game is probably one of the most fun games I've played. When you actually play with other people. When you actually play with other people, it adds a level that you didn't think was there before. And it really shines. I mean, there have been other games that have some really good group content. I mean, I really can't say that one way or the other. But this one, its group content is, I guess the way I want to say it, is surprisingly good. Like, you wouldn't think it would be that good until you actually play it, and then you're like, wow, okay. There's more to this than meets the eye. And definitely fun. And encourage everyone to, if you haven't already, to get a chance and play it. So, and I just died because this character is weak because it's a Dragon Knight.
Whoa. All right, look. There is one meta that won't change in this game. It's the Dumber Dragon Knight combination. And you know that. Dumber Dragon Knight Vampire plus Emperor. It's the one thing that this game won't ever change. So don't blame your weakness and noobness on the Dragon Knight. Okay?
Alright. But anyway, I'm playing a Dragon Knight right now because I'm just not ready to do anything on my other character yet, so I'm playing her. But she's weak. She's a crafting alt essentially, so I didn't really do a whole lot on her. I've just done some basic stuff, and I'm doing a group dungeon right now for anyone who's watching the stream. They can see me in here. But I'm messing around on her, having some fun with her, trying to make her. I think she's going to be a Magicka DK. But anyway, I did get a chance to do like 2 quests this week in Hrothgar. And I actually looked at my list and I realized I only have like 3 locations left in Hrothgar to do. And then I'm done with Hrothgar. And, 3 locations and then, finish up the main story, which some of the main story I'll finish just by doing those locations. But, then I'll be able to move on to Dark Brotherhood, and then after Dark Brotherhood is Morrowind. So that's exciting.
Just skip Dark Brotherhood and get to Morrowind. I can't talk about it until you do.
I know.
And there's so much to talk about it.
I am going to hammer my way through and get some of this stuff done. That way we can talk here. I'm actually going to dedicate a day or 2 this week of just questing in ESO. Like, literally, that's all I'm going to do. So, and I just died, and it was awful. But anyway.
But do Vardenfell as soon as you can.
Do Vardenfell as soon as I can. Yeah, definitely. I definitely want to visit Vardenfell because it's one of my favorite areas. And obviously now that, the Clockwork City is going to be coming out, oh my goodness, yes. So I definitely want to do that. But anyway, so I was running around Hrothgar, right? Mm-hmm. And I noticed earlier in the week, like what I had done is I had started in Hrothgar. You start at the Merchant's Gate, or not Merchant's Gate. Maybe it is the Merchant's Gate. When you first enter.
Before we continue, apparently I'm cutting off a little bit. Like on my end, you cut off. To me, it's like you are cutting off every now and then. But Mernrat just said it's like you are okay, but apparently I am cutting off a bit.
Okay.
So
all right.
my connection has been wonky today, so maybe it's because of that.
I mean, so far you've sounded okay. Like I've not had any issues, so we'll see. We'll keep going if we have to.
Let us know in chat, like if there are any audio issues and whatnot, so we can try to fix them.
Yep, absolutely. So when you enter Hrothgar, you enter from the one gate and you have the caravan and stuff like that, and that leads you pretty much to the city, right? And you do a few quests in the city. And then you start heading down south to find where King Kurog is fighting the Winterborn, right? I forget the name of the place. Hold on, maybe I can pull it up here on the stream. That way I know what I'm talking about. So you enter from the Merchant Gate. I was right. You enter into the city itself, and then they pretty much tell you that King Kurog is down at Frostpeak Fortress. So that's kind of down to the south, kind of like not quite the middle, but the southern area. So what I had done was I started, like, how if you look at Hrothgar here on the map, it's kind of split into 3 different areas. You have this forest area, then you have this tundra area, and then you have this Arctic area. Like, because you have the forest area to the far south, and kind of the middle is a tundra with kind of the yellow grass, very shrubs and stuff like that, followed by the snowy Arctic-ish mountainous area. So the natural course of events leads you down into the southern area to find King Kurog, and then it leads you back, and then you have to jump and help all the chieftains. So I've been working my way through that, right? But what I had done was I hadn't really picked up the main quest. I was just doing everything else first. So when I went down the southern area, I finished all that, and then I was doing the center, and then clearing up a few areas around Orsinium itself. So in reality, the only places I have left on the map for my main character is the Morkel Stronghold, and then a few places to the north, such as Sorrow, the area where Stibbins is, and the Faerun Stronghold, I think, or the Frozen Fleet. Those areas. That's literally the only place I have left. But I noticed in Honor's Rest, it was still black. I did like 2 quests in there, but it was still black, so I hadn't finished something. I didn't know what. So what I did was I went back, and on my process of trying to find what I did, what I missed, obviously, I ran across 2 of our friends. My 2 favorite Dunmer brother and sisters, who have an obsession with Dwemer, right? I'm trying to remember their name. Kareth and someone else. Her brother.
I think it started with R, but like...
You are right. I just cannot remember what it is. And they're fun. Anytime I see them, I know Dwemer are involved, because the brother is like obsessed with the Dwemer. The sister is an adventurer, and she always tries to get him out of trouble. Anyway, I find the guy, and he's like, okay, we have kind of an issue here. We need you to go find a Dwemer sphere that I inadvertently, we'll say, overcharged, and now it's wreaking havoc everywhere. The sister's like, just kill it, right? And the brother's like, no, don't kill it. It's awesome. So I had to track this thing, like, because it's running around like crazy, just all over. It started in the south, by the way. And I'm going to pull up the map here again. This quest just leads you everywhere because you have to find him. It starts here in the south of Hrothgar. Like, it literally starts, I already here. It's, if you look at the map right now, it's very close to this Boreal Forge area. So, like, I was heading up to Honor's Rest to try to figure out what I didn't have. And right along here, near the Boreal Forge, somewhere along in this vicinity, anyway, they came up and it was like there was an issue, and I'm following this guy, and you could probably see my mouse as I'm leading. It's going up the road. It's going north. It stopped by the Exile's Barrow, you know, like with all the, and then it's going further. I think it ended somewhere like right outside Orsinium. If I remember correctly, it ended very close to the Trader's Road waypoint from where and it started all the way down here near the Boreal Forge, and it just kept walking me all over the place. So I eventually did finish that one. It was very annoying, but I did finish it. And then I was like, all right, I'm done. I'll see you later. I'm going back, you know, to Honor's Rest. Now, Honor's Rest was fun because what I essentially found out was that in Honor's Rest, there to the south, and again, I'll pull up the map because I should have done this when I was talking about it, but I didn't. Like, you get into Honor's Rest somewhere along this path, like right over here somewhere, like right next to the coffin. But if you follow the path up north, almost to the very southern border, there is a camp, like right up here, of people. They are, I don't think they're Mages Guild, if I remember correctly. I don't think they're Mages Guild. But they're a group of scholars who are trying to figure out the secrets of Honor's Rest. And there's these 2 scholars, one's a Red Guard, and one's an Orc. And they are fighting over whether or not Honor's Rest was, excuse me, the burial tomb of an Orc champion, or if it was the burial tomb of like one of the greatest sword masters in Redguard history. Why it's fascinating is because while you're doing this, you're going into this tomb to gather these urns to open the gate, right? But while doing so, you end up finding, like, looking into the memories of the people, and it was showing a war probably during the founding of the sack of the second city of Orsinium, right? Where the Bretons from the south were marching up with their allied forces, and the Orcs were trying to guard and all that fun stuff. And here, essentially what had happened, and I think it was really neat, is the 2 forces didn't really want to fight each other. Like, The orcs and the red guards actually respected one another in terms of fighting prowess, that they weren't actually going to fight one another. But through some trickery from the Breton king, which seems about right, because he's not a Nord, obviously, that they were going to duel for the city to end the bloodshed. And instead, what had happened was they tricked and killed both opponents, both Orc and Red Guard champions. There we go. There. Oh, yeah, I can hear you now, Ark, right?
Okay.
Did you have things you were going to... No, I didn't hear you before, so...
Oh, okay.
I sort of figured as I was talking and you weren't talking that there was an issue. But anyway...
Yeah, I was just making, like, understanding noises, but other than that, I was just listening at the moment.
Yeah. So, you find out that these two warriors, like, really respected one another, because they were both incredibly, prowess at fighting. And through treachery of one of the commander's lieutenants, because the commander was going to allow the duel to happen. If the Orc won, that the Breton forces would withdraw from Orsinium, and if the
Red Guard,
if the Red Guard won, that the Orcs would withdraw from Orsinium, right? And that was the honorable duel. But the treacherous Breton lieutenant ended up killing both of them, and it was cool because the Red Guard was pretty much like, listen, his final wish was to die in whatever land he fell, because he didn't really have a home. So he was going to be buried in Orsinium, and wished to honor his opponent, which was the Orc. So both of them were buried in the same sepulcher, just right apart from one another, and they actually built a statue commemorating their battle. It was really cool to see. I really liked it. It was something that I thought was really neat. And you actually end up getting to, take out the bad lady.
Treacherous Breton?
Yeah, the treacherous Breton.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you get to get rid of her.
I definitely should complete Hrothgar. Like, I haven't yet.
You would really like Hrothgar. Like, I really like
So
Hrothgar.
everyone says, yeah.
I really like Hrothgar, so I know you'll really like it. And it's actually one of those zones where I know getting into play right now is really hard for me. And I don't want to rush Hrothgar, because I will regret it later if I do. Like Thieves Guild, I had no problem. I'm like, I'll rush Thieves Guild. I don't really care. But Hrothgar, every time I go into it, is something that I really like. Because I don't even really care for the Orcs. Orcs aren't really my thing. But the whole area, the aesthetic, the story, it's fantastic. And Hrothgar is definitely one of my favorites. So I definitely encourage people to do Hrothgar.
It's definitely the best zone edition that's been put into the game as a DLC.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, it might change with Clockwork City, though. I know.
You know what? Maybe.
Looks so good.
Maybe. I don't know. Clockwork City is one of those. I have a very special place in my heart for Clockwork City. So yeah, it could be a thing. It really could be a thing. Whenever Clockwork City comes in. So that was pretty much what I did this week. I mean, that is kind of it. Now, before we roll into the news, obviously we got to do a shout out for all of those who support us over at patreon.com/Dungeon Crawler Network. We are the PBS of podcast. We have no external funding other than my own wallet and what our generous fans actually give us, which is amazing. You guys are all awesome, and we really do appreciate that. So if you are so inclined, head on over patreon.com/Dungeon Crawler Network. Helps us keep the lights on and allows us to do fun stuff and continue providing you with all the content that DCN does. And we do quite a few shows now, obviously, if you follow our entire list of items. And by donating as little as $1 a month, you get all of our podcasts up, well, I say at least 24 hours early, sometimes longer. I know some of our Ashes of Creation followers get their shows almost a week early because I tend to record that because it's not done live. That show's done offline, and then I edit and do all that fun stuff. They get a lot of their shows very early because I finish them early, and I finish them and just provide them so they can just binge listen if they so desire. You're also entered into our monthly raffle where every month we pick a winner from those who currently support us, and you get something. It depends. Last month, we gave away a copy of Age of Empires 2 HD Edition. Other times it'll be DCN t-shirts and apparel and other little goodies, game codes, whatever it is that I feel I want to give that week or that month, and go from there. And obviously I announce it at the beginning of the month, so it's not a what do I have laying around thing. It's this is what we're giving away this month. You can also support us over at twitch.tv/Dungeon Crawler Network. I definitely encourage people, if you have Amazon Prime, which so many people do nowadays, you can get a free sub, and if you are so inclined, you can use it on us, and that is definitely helpful. Our Ark, because Ark is now also subbed. So that is also someone. So either Dungeon Crawler Network or Arkhaniir. Do one of them. You have no excuse. Do one. All right, let's go ahead and roll right on into the news. So there's not a lot of news this week, but today, this very day that we are recording, in fact, they had ESO Live. Now, what they did was they gave us a first look at the Clockwork City, the zone itself. Now, both Ark and I watched this. Ark, what were your first thoughts of Clockwork City?
All right, so it was as machinery as I expected it. Mm-hmm. Then again, can I give you a spoiler from Vardenfell already?
Yeah, because I'm fine with that, but spoiler alert for anyone who has not finished Vardenfell. This is spoiler, so skip ahead about 30 seconds.
Yeah. You enter Clockwork City in Vardenfell. Mm-hmm. Just for a part of it, just for part of the quest. So I had an idea how it would look already.
Okay.
So that's why I wasn't like, wow, because I was expecting it. Then again, even the way I expected it, it's still great. It's still amazing. I definitely, like, one of my favorite things is when you look up, you actually see the, what would it be called? The containment module or whatever that is of the Clockwork City. So that's one of the lovely things because it looks great. Other than that, pretty much everything is metal, as they said on ESO Live. That is also great. Even the water is actually oil.
Yeah.
Engine oil. So
I did see that.
Yeah. So yeah, overall, the look of it is great. The creatures that they made are awesome. And one of my other favorite parts is that the new armor set. It looks so good. It
does.
It looks like you actually transform your body into, like, your arms, the way it covers your arms. It looks like you actually get a Dwemer arm-ish.
Yep, yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely going. That's going to be my next go-to set. Skin changer is going to change, and whatever that set is called, that's going to come into play. I
see. Yeah.
First impressions are like this. Yeah.
Gotcha. Now, one of the things that I was really excited about, like, this is something, I got excited about, because this was a question that I had, not playing Vardenfell, but I have played Morrowind. Obviously, I'm sitting here thinking, where are they going to put this? Because here's the thing. You got to enter Clockwork City in the Tribunal expansion of Morrowind, but a lot of the lore surrounding the Clockwork City is just like Sothasil himself being very mysterious. No one knew the location of this city. Like, no one knows where it's at. People theorized that it was on the mainland, right? But no one really knew where Clockwork City was. And I mean, obviously from the description and when we finally do get to see it, it's huge, right? Like, it's just massive. Well, a lot of that is because, the way they described it is they did it. And this was actually, it's funny, if you listen to episode 153, I pretty much think we predicted this. Because I said the only way I'd really like to see is maybe they'll add it to the overworld map like they do with an extra level of like a Daedric realm, right? And they did just that. They added it to the overworld, but it appears as a circle like when we see Cold Harbor, which I'm really excited about because just like the Dwemer disappearance, I like the fact that there was mystery surrounding the location of the Clockwork City, right? Mm-hmm. That was something I thought was really cool, and I didn't want to see that like spoiled. So like you enter Clockwork City through underneath Morrowind, or not underneath Morrowind, underneath Mournhold, which I felt was fitting because if I remember, and this was several years ago that I played, I feel like there was a portal underneath Morrowind is how you got to the Clockwork City anyway in Tribunal, and it would have fit because almost the entire the entire expansion of Tribunal took place in Mournhold. Like that was literally the entire expansion for Tribunal. Mm. So
I haven't got that point yet, so I don't know, but I do remember like Sodasyl's Vault thing. That's a thing, right? Sodasyl's Vault.
Yep, that it's
I don't know from where, but I remember it being under, at least theorized, that it's under Almalexia's temple or something like that, but
yep, and
I don't
that's
know if you
where
told
it's at.
me that or
that's so I'm really, really excited that is the route they took because it feels right. You know what I mean? Like it feels right, and that was one of the major concerns that I had, that it was going to be some location on the map, and I'm like, well, if it wasn't canon before, it is now, like that's always kind of the issue, right? Whenever ESO does something, if it varies from the lore that we know, it's essentially canon at that. I know some people would say, no, ESO doesn't count. Well, Elder Scrolls Online is an Elder Scrolls game. Sorry. Whether you like it or you don't like it, it's an Elder Scrolls game. So you're going to have to deal with it.
I mean, I can understand when they have to change a part of the lore to fit to MMORPG aspect of something.
Yes.
But it is also good, always good to see that they try to stick to the lore as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Some things they change for, like you said, the MMORPG aspects of the game. But a lot of those things are minor, with the exception of probably, obviously, one of the biggest issues was the idea of Cyrodiil being not a jungle anymore. Mm-hmm. That was definitely one of those retcons or whatever that people look at and still to this day go, yeah, that was a major flop. And I personally believe the lore explanation they gave is full of it. Like, it was to play on the nostalgia factor of everyone in Oblivion. It was a marketing ploy, not a lore ploy. And I'll stand by that to this day. I think it's very weak, and it is one of the major failings that I see in ESO. But a lot of the other ones are minor. That was big. That was a big one. And there's no way of really getting around it. Like I said, their lore book does not make sense. It's crap. But you have to accept it or you don't play, right? There's no way of changing that, unfortunately. So, I'm glad that, with this, they kept it, because keeping that mystery was something that I really, really liked, because I didn't want them to ruin that mystery, right? Because that mystery was something that was really, really cool, and I like the way they did it. The way they did it is very fitting, and I'm really glad about that. Obviously, the map itself is really freaking awesome. Everything kind of has a metallic sheen to it. It's all Sothasyl's, projects, both abandoned and not. The observatory, oh my goodness. That is so cool. the way they designed it. But every time there's an observatory in ESO or Elder Scrolls in general, it always looks good. Because, I mean, I'm thinking of the ones inside in Skyrim, right? Those are gorgeous. The one in... Oh, it's in Hrothgar, actually. It is underneath the Greystone Quarry when you find it down there. That one is gorgeous. Like, they're all gorgeous. They all look great. And it's something that I really enjoy. So, and of course, then we also see the wizard priest or whatever they are, wizard monks, his little order, and they've all mechanically altered themselves to be like Sotha Sil. And we're going to see Sotha Sil. That's obviously something that's really, really exciting for me because he's one of my favorite tribunal. I'm just hoping that they do him justice because obviously he is one of the weirdest of the group. So I want to see him done properly, I guess is the best way to say.
I think they will do it because, like, if you look at Almalexia, it's very, like, she was in the base game, and she's just a Dunmer made shiny and flying.
Yeah.
And then if you look at Vivec, you can see the improvement. Like, you can actually see the color difference, and he's shining, he's holding a rock and whatnot. So I think they're improving on that aspect, and I think they will do justice. But then again, I never met Sotha Sil in Morrowind yet. I haven't got that far.
Yeah.
So I'm quite excited about meeting Sotha Sil because Vivec, okay, he's holding a rock in the air and he's floating, he's powerful. Almalexia, I don't know how powerful she is, but Sotha Sil is, I guess, considered the most powerful of the tribunal, in a sense. Maybe because of his mysteries, but also the fact that he's making pacts with the Daedric princes and whatnot. He has his own dimensional city in a mini like
in essentially, I know what you mean, in another dimension, if you will, or another plane of existence, because I don't like to use the term Daedric planes because we don't it's not necessarily Daedra. In fact, it was really funny because when they made that claim on ESO Live, the chat room, and I love it. My lore Nazis out there were going nuts, going, "It's not Daedric!" And then I saw someone point out, "It's not a Daedric realm, it's Tower lore." And I'm like, I could kiss you. I know Mark from Elder Scrolls Off the Record's probably like pulling his hair out whenever Tower lore is mentioned, but anytime I hear Tower lore, I get a little excited. I love the idea of Tower lore. But yeah, I thought that was neat. That like the one guy corrected it. He was like, "No, it's not. It's not. It's not what you're saying. It's not Daedric. It's something else, right?" And I thought that was really cool because that was something that I'm really happy they went with. So,
yep.
I guess that's kind of it. I mean, from what you saw, right? Did you have anything else?
One thing they mentioned was interesting. Someone asked how do you make the crafting nodes? Like, how do you get a cornflower or whatever if everything is metal?
Right.
And everything is crafted by Sotha Sil? The answer seemed...
I know it was one of those answers like the why Cyrodiil isn't a jungle. It was like yeah, I know what it was. It was like, oh, we have lots of travelers, right?
Yeah.
And they drop
travelers
stuff.
brought it themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, who cares rubidite ore and just happens to drop it somewhere? I don't know. I mean, then again, I don't know how they would lore-wise do that and implement the zone into crafting system, like the gathering.
I don't think that they really needed to think too much about it. I think they overthought it, and, it's just like with any of the other planes of existence, there were stuff in the other ones. Well, we absorbed, it's obviously this plane was made of some part of Mundus. You don't have to. I think they just over-explained it to the point where it's kind of like, all right.
I mean, they might be feeling anxious about it, stuff like that, with you and other lore nuts like you watching everything they do. So
Perhaps, but I think something along that's like, oh, well, how is there a Rubedite here? I'm like, at some point, and I know this is weird coming from me because, obviously as the lore guy, I never think gameplay should all the time trump it, but there's some things where it's just like, okay, there's metal. We got it. There's ore. Who cares?
No, I like the fact that they even made like vegetations, leaves and whatnot. I think I couldn't see as clearly in the stream, but I think they mentioned that it has metal-ish leaves, like petals, rather than even. That's awesome. Like that attention. Oh, okay. I remember what I love the most: the way shrines.
Yes.
The way shrines look awesome. It's just beautiful.
They do. They look so good. They kept that idea of that the circle motif, the orb motif is definitely looks really, really good, and I'm really glad they did it that way.
Yeah, basically overall, I think they outdone themselves in art department overall in creation of Clockwork City.
Right.
And again, how long had we known that this was coming?
Well,
this was one of the very early mentioned DLCs, right?
It was. We knew about it. Well, here's the thing. We knew about it all the way back at QuakeCon, like the first QuakeCon. Yeah. But here's the other thing that they let it slip that they've had these assets for years. Do you remember that? They actually let that slip where it's like, hey, we've had these assets for years. It was a project we were going to do early on in the beginning, and it never, came to fruition essentially. But they said like this is something that we already had, right? And so
I didn't catch that.
Yeah. Oh,
that's interesting.
Just got killed by a guard because I attacked it.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it does look a lot better and a lot polished when compared to like Gold Coast or Hughes Bane, because I mean Hughes Bane is just same. Hughes Bane is just smaller Alikir Desert. Yeah. And Gold Coast is just, well, it's not too different. Like it added minotaurs and whatnot, some different creatures. Yeah, but other than that, this looks like it has a very different feeling to the previous zones and whatnot. So then again, most of the assets are Dwemer looking, even though they specifically mentioned they are not Dwemer, but they are Soda Sill.
Yes.
And apparently that's offensive to Dunmers, like claiming these are Dwemer.
Well, they were at war with the Dwemer, so yeah, they're essentially mortal enemies, if you will, of each other. So yeah, they would be offended.
Well, then Soda Sill shouldn't have straight up copied Dwemer structures.
This is pretty much true. It does. I know they're like, oh, his stuff is different, but he was inspired a lot by the Dwemer. It's like, well, yeah, I guess. All right, whatever.
Yeah, overall, they look great, so I'm fine with that.
Right.
I'm curious as to what different creature animations we will get to. Like in Hrothgar, there were guys that teleport up or just jump up and then drop on you with a shining light.
Mm-hmm. The Trinimac devotees. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see what new attacks we will see as well. That would be interesting.
I agree.
I hope they added some of those to playable characters as well.
I would like to see that, especially like that jumping thing for Templars would be awesome. But we will definitely see. Final thing before we move on. What did you think about zone size? I mean, we got to see it. I mean, we knew it was going to be 2 delves, 2 world bosses. It's going to be of similar size. And maybe it was just the way that it was shaped, but it looked kind of tiny to me. Like, tinier than what I remember Hughes Bane and Dark Brotherhood.
I have to check it because I I didn't pay attention to it during ESO Live.
Oh, that's fine. Like, you know, I mean, I knew they were going to be small. That's not, they said it's going to be similar to those. So there we go. I get it. It's just, it seemed small to me. And now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, I'm like, I guess maybe it wasn't. Hughes Bane was pretty tiny when you got into it, right? Didn't take long, but yeah, it is what it is.
I mean, it also depends on how they design the level. Like, you could have a very small area, but if you, I guess, design it correctly, you would end up feeling like it's actually a quite larger land, because they would make you like go up, down, horizontal, vertical, spirals and whatnot.
I've been playing a lot of Guild Wars 2 lately, and it's funny you mentioned that, because that was something they did with their zones in Heart of Thorns. The zones were smaller in comparison to like the overworld zones, but they were multiple like they had multiple layers. There was like an undergrowth, a ground level, a canopy level. These zones were just insanity when you looked at them. Like when you look down from a map view, you're like, it doesn't look that big. And then when you got into the zone, you're like, oh my goodness, what just happened here? You're right. If they design with verticality in mind and depth, then yes, the maps could be a lot larger than they appear. I've not seen ESO do depth in that way. I mean, some cities maybe, like Orsinium kind of has a lot more depth than the other cities. Like they made it look bigger than all the other cities, because the other cities obviously are a pet peeve of mine. You know, in an MMO, your entire population is supposed to live in 3 huts and a campfire. Like that doesn't make sense to me. But you know, Orsinium, while still not as big as some MMO cities I've seen, they did a good job with the verticality of it and the way it feels bigger than what it really is. Like, if you literally sat down and thought about the numbers, well, it's only 5 houses and a castle. And
I mean, that's the entire Elder Scrolls, though, right? I mean,
yes.
In Skyrim, you look at Whiterun, and it looks like there's only 100 people living in Whiterun. And there is actually 100 people living in Whiterun.
I was gonna say 100, really? I know. I get what you mean, because there's also stories like from these different wars and stuff, like the Battle of Whiterun, where the armies of the Imperials came against the Nordic rebels, and it was like thousands of people. I'm like, where would they fit? You know, like. How could there be thousands?
Just 5 people shooting arrows at each other.
Yeah,
and screaming.
I know what you mean. There is that level of disbelief that you have to suspend, or else you're never going to understand. It's the same with the Imperial City, the hub of civilization. That's 6 districts, right? Mm-hmm. And in those districts are like 3. Obviously, ESO made the districts bigger. Like, they felt like there were more houses and stuff like that. But even so, it wasn't a ton. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like, oh my goodness, look at all these houses. Because in reality, if it were any other... well, of course, then when you played, Oblivion, it's like, oh, you're in the Merchant District. 4 buildings. You know? It's like, okay. You're saying that your entire city has 6 merchants altogether. Yeah, there's a level of disbelief that you have to do because of hardware.
Yeah. Then that's one thing, actually. I mean, I know it's a long way from now, if ever, Elder Scrolls 6. But one thing Todd Howard mentioned was that something about insufficient technology and hardware. So what I'm hoping when and if Elder Scrolls 6 comes along, with the greater CPU power and whatnot we have at that year, I guess it will be 2020 plus, we will have a lot more.
2030. 5.
I don't think 2030. I think something along the lines of 21, perhaps.
I think it's probably a little longer than that. But anyway, yeah.
But yeah, you know what I mean.
I know what you're saying.
With Elder Scrolls 6, hopefully we'll have solutions to these problems. Well, not really problems, but game design issues that you can't just avoid because of the limitations.
The technology's already there. Like, and I mean, look at The Witcher 3. Look at Novigrad. Like
Novigrad, I don't know about it.
Yeah, well, you've been to Novigrad. Like, you played Witcher 3, right?
No.
Oh, okay. What I'm going to do for you is after we're done with this stream, I'm going to actually boot up Witcher 3 and go to Novigrad for you so you can see. The technology is there. I mean, obviously, it'll be better, but if you've looked at Novigrad as a city, it's gorgeous. Like, it actually feels like a living city. Just even based on the fact that people run around and they have conversations independent of you being there as a player. And, yeah.
Well, I'll always be the advocate for Todd Howard, I guess.
I know. But chat room made a good point. Before TES 6 comes out, we still have to get Skyrim mobile.
I'm waiting for the Pip-Boy version.
The Pip-Boy version of Skyrim?
Yeah.
You can literally boot into Fallout 4, pull up your Pip-Boy, and then play Skyrim. So it's like Inception. It's a game within a game. It's all cool.
You know what? Someone, I don't know who, but on Twitter, someone mentioned, like, one of the Elder Scrolls Bethesda people mentioned, I don't know if it was Pete Hines or not, mentioned two new games, before some deadline, I don't remember.
For Elder Scrolls 6, I remember the quote you're saying, and it was specifically, he said...
No. Actually, I'm not talking about that.
Oh.
This is a close range deadline. I think it was either something like before 2018 or something like that.
Okay.
And then they announced Doom and was it Wolfenstein Switch versions?
Yep.
I don't know if he was talking about those as new games, but I hope not. Because at that rate, we will never get Elder Scrolls 6.
Well, and I don't think those games actually count. Because I know the quote people say, and they try to use is it Wolfenstein or Evil Within 2 or whatever.
I think there's Evil Within 2. There's Wolfenstein 2 as well.
Yes.
Like, both of them are there.
And some people are like, well, those count. They said 2 games coming out before Elder Scrolls 6. I remember that quote. The quote was specifically 2 new IPs before Elder Scrolls 6. The Evil Within 2 is the Evil Within, IP. Wolfenstein 2 is the Wolfenstein IP. Those are not the IPs. So I know some people are like, oh, well, they're already releasing these 2 games. That means Elder Scrolls 6 is next. No, Todd Howard said 2 new IPs before.
Well, one of which is probably that space game everyone was talking about, which I never heard before. And earlier this month, I think, I saw something that I may have linked it in Discord as well. Bethesda Game of Thrones game.
That came out to be a rumor.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that was debunked.
Okay. I didn't did a follow-up research on it or anything, but...
Oh, it's okay. A lot of people reported on it, and it actually, I think, took Bethesda coming out and be like, no, we're not doing that, because a lot of people reported it as fact. Yeah, so, not a big deal, because like I said, a lot of people was like, yeah, this is going to happen. No, it's not. But, cool.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, a long time before Elder Scrolls 6.
And
just try to stay alive
as long as you stay alive,
and you might actually get to play it before you die.
Maybe.
So
depends how healthy you are.
Medical technology is advancing. If
true.
anything, we will just put ourselves in Cyrus sleep or whatever it's called, and wake up 200 years later. We'll see.
Wow, Skyrim VR 3D X2. No Elder Scrolls 6 yet. Put me back under. Put me back under.
Skyrim on Mars.
Skyrim on Mars. Skyrim on Atari. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, sorry. More Skyrim jokes. Yeah. I just can't believe it. But Yeah. And I mean, let's face it, folks. We know for a fact that when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, a lot of the populace who plays ESO is going to stop for Elder Scrolls 6. I can tell you right now, my buddies over at Elder Scrolls Off the Record, the only other ESO podcast that I still think is going, well, I know they're going. I don't know if anyone else still is or if they're intermediate. You know, the only guys who are still covering this game in the Elder Scrolls series, I know as soon as Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, they're not going to be talking ESO. They're not going to be talking ESO. And I mean, you know, they do these crown crates and all this, their monetization stuff. They're not gonna, why would you want to essentially shoot yourself in the foot monetarily wise when there's still life to be had in ESO? They will wait until the numbers show that ESO is in its decline before releasing Elder Scrolls 6. Because why else would you risk losing all that cash cow, you know? Like they're making too much money off of ESO right now to go, oh, let's just, you know, make everyone stop playing ESO so they can play Elder Scrolls 6 that we can't monetize as well, because let's face it, modders and stuff will put stuff in for free. So, you know, let's stick with the game we can heavily monetize and get lots of money, because that's what they're doing.
Well, I mean, eventually.
I mean, it would be. I mean, speaking from a purely logical point of view, that's what I would do. You know, like if this, you know, obviously I hate the idea of but you know, if I had someone who's offering me a job, right, and it was like a flat job, and they're like, it's you can grab it whenever you want, you'll earn like $100,000 off of it, okay, but that's it, right? Or you could have this other job here that doesn't pay $100,000 or whatever, but it's going to be consistent until you're ready to give it up. Well, obviously I'm not, you know, because you can't go back to it, right? Why would I want to go back? Why would I leave the monthly income for a one-time shot that I then have to, once that money's gone, I have to figure out, well, now what do I do? You know? I would ride the monthly thing till I was tired of it or bored of it or whatever the case may be, and then move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
But anyway.
It is what it is.
It is. Well, that's kind of the end of our news for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed that. So it's time for probably one of my favorite things. The lore.
The read.
The read. We are back once again with yet another 36 Lessons of Vivec. We are up to Sermon 11. All right. You ready, Ark? Hopefully, man. I'm going to take a drink here first.
No, I'm pulling the sermon up as well. In the meantime, Sermon 11, Vivec 36. There we go. Right, I'm ready.
Okay. All right. So begins the 36 Lessons of Vivec, Sermon 11. These were the days of Resdania, when the Chimera and the Dwemer lived under the wise and benevolent rule of the Selvi and their champion, the Hortator. When the gods of Veloth would retreat unto their own to mold the cosmos and the other matters, the Hortator would at times become confused. Vivec would always be there to advise him, and this is the first of the 3 lessons of Ruling Kings. The waking world is an amnesia of dream. All motifs can be mortally wounded. Once slain, themes turned into structure of future nostalgia. Do not abuse your powers, or they will lead you astray. They will leave you like rebellious daughters. They will lose their virtue. They will become lost and resentful, and finally become pregnant with the seed of folly. Soon you will be the grandparent of a broken state. You will be mocked. It will fall apart like the stone that recalls that which is really water. Keep nothing in your house that is neither needed or beautiful. ordeals you should face, unimpeded by the world of restriction. The splendor of stars is I am's domain, the selfishness of sea is sect's. I rule the middle air, all else is earth, and under your temporal command. There is no bone that cannot be broken, except the heart bone. You will see it twice in your lifetimes. Take what you can the first time, and let us do the rest. There is no true symbolism of the center. The Sharmot will believe there is. He will feel that which he can cause years of exuberance from sitting in the sacred, when really no one can leave the state and cause anything more but strife. There is but once more the case of the symbolic and barren. The true prince that is cursed and demonized will be abhorred at last with full hearts. According to the codes of Minfala, there can be no official art, only fixation points of complexity that will erase from the awe of the people given enough time. This is a secret that hides another, an impersonal survival that is not the way of a ruling king. Embrace the art of the people and marry it, and by that I mean secretly have it murdered. The ruling king that sees in another his equivalent rules nothing. The secret of weapons is this: they are the mercy seat. The secret of language is this: it is immobile. The ruling king is armored, head to toe, in brilliant flame. He is redeemed by each act he undertakes. His death is only a diagram back to the waking world. He sleeps the second way. The Sharmot is his double, and therefore you wonder if you rule nothing. Hortator and Sharmot, 1 and 1, 11, an inelegant number. Which is the ones that is more important? Could you ever tell if they switch places? I can, and that is why you will need me. According to the codes of Minfala, there is no difference between the theorist and the terrorist. Even the most cherished desire disappears in their hands. This is why Minfala has black hands. Bring both of yours to every argument. The one-handed king finds no remedy. When you approach God, however, cut them both off. God has no need of theory, and he is armored head to toe in terror. The ending of the words is Alm Sylvie. Okay.
All right.
That was fun. I love doing those. Those are so much fun. Did you enjoy the reading arc?
Oh yeah, I did. And I was like, there's one thing that will upset you, but I almost laugh. When you make these, like, read these in that tone of voice with your beard, it's slow. But then I imagined you reading this without your beard, and then I almost laughed. Because the beard and your voice, like, your voice goes very nice, like very solid with the beard. You have that bearded Nordic voice.
Yep, and now I feel like a Breton or an Altmer or something like that. Yeah, I know. It takes away.
Yeah.
Now I'm sad.
But yeah, the reading itself was, as always, amazing.
I have a lot of fun reading those. Those are really, really fun. I'm not gonna
try it one time.
You should. You really should.
I don't know how to pronounce half of these.
Well, something I really wanted to point out is when I was reading these, I really wonder sometimes what Michael Kirkbride was thinking when he wrote these, because a lot of what was written was, I guess, modified from other religious texts. Like, I see words and phrases from the Christian Bible brought in, such as when he talks about the mercy seat. I obviously just got done reading through Deuteronomy, Numbers in the Bible, and they talked about the Ark of the Covenant for God, and the mercy seat was where God rested on the Ark of the Covenant for the Jews in Israel. So it's fascinating that so many of these key terms that I keep seeing when I read this, I feel like they were pulled from other religions and other texts and then thrown together, which is why it does have that very, religious feel. I mean, it was written like that, right? This is the way this was written is like the Dunmary Bible, if you will, or religious text. For the Dunmary people. And I thought it was neat when I was reading it that I found words and phrases that I knew from other places and that I've not seen other places. Maybe I'm wrong, and someone can correct me, but the idea of a mercy seat was something that was first, brought to me from studying the Bible. And I don't know where else it was ever used, or if it was ever used in any context, or if it was adopted from that point. So it's just a term that, in my experience, hasn't been outside of Christian religion, right? So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is used in other contexts. I don't know, but I found that interesting. The other thing that's really, really interesting that I found was one of the people on the Imperial Library wrote this, and I thought it was neat because they left a note. And normally there's not a lot of notes on these, at least not the early ones, but they left something here that I thought was neat. They said, note how the sermons casually gloss over the history of the First Council's ascension to high power. All right. First, Nerevar is a simple warrior who brings Vivec to Mournhold City. Then, without explanation, Nerevar becomes the Hortator and wins the war. Later, it's suddenly the benevolent rule of the Am Sylvie and the Hortator. Obviously, we're on Sermon 11, right? So we're not even a third of the way through the 36 lessons right now. And the tribunal is in full power, right? They are in full power and majesty as the ruling people of the Dunmer. But in the first sermons, it was showing that Vivec is, he is what he is. Like, he sees the egg inside Vivec, and Nerevar is nothing but a warrior in a merchant caravan, right? Now, I am and Set are around, but they're in no way, at this point, I believe, considered the tribunal ascension, right? They may be ruling parties, but they're not the tribunal at that point. And then within, I think it was not last episode, or episode 8, I think it was. Not episode 8, sermon 8 is when you start seeing Nerevar becoming the Hortator. In essence, like they refer to him as the Hortator, or in this abstract of you must find the Hortator, but never really tied in with Nerevar until around lesson 9, when it talks about the invading Nords from the north, and all of a sudden he is the Hortator, right? He is the commander, and he's leading the forces, but there's no explanation of how they came to power, right? Like, it's something that they left out completely. And I think a lot of that is because how they came to power was through treachery and deceit, and they gloss over that fact, which a lot of things have been said with Vivec, is to remember that he's a poet, and by nature of being a poet, he's a liar, right?
Yeah. If you think about it, with that much power, they may as well just slaughtered half of Morrowind and got the power as well.
Yeah, and very well they could have. But remember, history is written by the victors, not the ones conquered. So they could say whatever they wanted. If no one's there to tell you otherwise, you could say what you want. All right? And that's just the way of the world at this point. So I find that fascinating, and I like that someone else noticed that as well. Like, the library notes literally say that as well. Like, hey, they all of a sudden we're looking at tribunal being the fully realized tribunal, but there's no discussion whatsoever about how they became that. I mean, obviously, with any time there is political upheaval or a change in regime, it's very rarely is it ever a peaceful thing, right? There's normally resistance. There's always somebody who's like, hey, we don't like this. We're losing our power and we're not going to give it up willingly. There's always an issue. But I think that was fascinating they say that. The other thing that's of note, and I know you may have noticed this, but people playing ESO probably won't, because the character is there, but probably doesn't play a role in the story. Not having played the story, I highly doubt they would talk about him. And that was the missing fourth member of the little group of friends, Dagoth, also called the Charmant. So the Charmant is actually referring to Dagoth as like the antagonist. And this is also something that I find interesting. And the reason why I find it so interesting is going once again back to some other, real world religions, referring to, instead of giving the enemy its due, it's an evil force. It's evil spirits. It's this. The Charmant represents something not right with the Dunmeri religion, right? A negative influence. But they don't give it a name. They give it a title. And that's what the Charmant is. It's a title more than a name itself. They didn't come out and say Dagoth, because if they came out and said Dagoth, there could be people alive at that point in time who'd go, wait a minute, I recognize that name. Was he not your friend at one point? So,
I mean, in Morrowind, they do mention Dagoth directly, right? Like, I was just about to ask you, like, okay, Nervar became Hortator. Who is Dagoth? But you just kind of answered that.
Yes, he was one of he was actually the one who, when they found the Heart of Lorkhan after the Battle of Red Mountain, he was the one who stayed in Red Mountain to guard the tools while the rest of the tribunal decided what to do with Nerevar.
So here it says the Charmant will believe he will feel that he can cause years of exuberance from sitting in the sacred.
Yep.
Does that Heart of Lorkhan like that?
Yep, sitting in the sacred. They're abstractly referring to the fact that he is, as of right now, in Red Mountain, preventing them from accessing the Heart of Lorkhan. And
so he is preventing them from accessing Heart of Lorkhan.
Yep, and that's actually why in Morrowind they start to lose their powers, because they're not able to do their, I don't want to say yearly, because we don't know at this point what it was, but in Morrowind they had to make and they made it a religious ritual, like a renewal ritual or something, and it was something that they did where they would travel to Red Mountain, and they of course had some flowery discussion of why we're doing this, right? Mm-hmm. It's a ritual for the sanctity of our people, but in reality it was them kind of topping off, the power reserves, because hey, we need to, this is borrowed divinity, it's not of ourselves. So something that I thought was definitely interesting was the fact that they mentioned that. So well, I guess that's kind of it, guys. That's the end of our show. We've done the lesson. I hope everyone enjoyed the lesson as much as I did reading it. I know Thais over here, she just came down just as I was reading. Did you enjoy my sermon?
Yes, it was very good.
Yeah?
You sounded really good.
Yeah, I've been practicing my
You're
voice.
very articulate.
What have you done with Thais?
What do you mean?
You never call me articulate.
You never are articulate.
Oh, okay. All right. Except for when I'm reading religious texts, then all of a sudden I'm like.
And actually, when you were finished reading, I had to look up the throne you were talking about, the mercy seat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says nothing that it's exists anywhere else besides Hebrew literature.
Really? Okay. So Thais actually did some homework for me, which I'm really glad about, where she actually did look up the idea of the mercy seat, and from her cursory search, the only place that mercy seat shows up is from Hebrew literature, the Bible and other Hebrew literature. So I didn't like it. Like I said, in my experience, I've never seen a reference to a mercy seat outside of the Bible or religious texts related to it. So I think it's interesting, like what was going through Michael Kirkbride's mind when he was writing this, as he pulled a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Nomenclature? Is that the word I think I'm looking for? Or themes and stuff from other works to add into his.
I mean, if you think about it, like he's writing, at least in this instance, he's writing the word of practically a god, like a divine being that is writing to like address his followers and whatnot. So it does make sense that he took inspiration or at least researched the currently existing God-written literature or whatnot.
Right. And I mean, like you said right there, by using these texts and stuff, he's essentially giving that realistic feel, that familiarity that people would have with it, and go, this feels like a religious text, because in the back of your mind, you're remembering those words and phrases and stuff from religious texts that you already knew. So, very neat.
Yeah, good work. I forgot his name already.
Michael Kirkbride, yeah.
Yes.
Who is no longer with Bethesda. Like, I think he left after Morrowind. I don't think he was even involved when Oblivion came out at that point. Morrowind was one of the last things that he actually did with the group. But, yeah. So, cool. Again, I really hope everyone enjoyed that, because I know I always enjoy reading those. And they're fun because I like the way they're worded. It feels comfortable to me. I really like it. It's actually probably one of the reasons why I still use a King James version of the Bible, because I like the way it was written in the Old English, if you will, versus some of the newer translations which use more modern English. I like the Old English, so I don't know. I like it.
Yeah.
I really can't say much about it other than I like the way they're written, So, cool. Well, guys, that's kind of the end of our show. Of course, you can find us dungeoncrawlernetwork.com. Ark, do you have any shout-outs you'd like to give?
Well, you already gave all the shout-outs at the early stage of the show anyway.
Oh, you could do it again, so in case people haven't done what I told them to do.
Yeah, well, as Ag mentioned earlier, I do stream on twitch.tv/Arkhaniir, trying to make it more regularly, but it depends on the week and how much work I have. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I am mostly on Twitter at twitter.com/Arkhaniir as well. And yeah, that's about it, I guess.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. And possibly, maybe Arkhaniir, might be coming on more stuff. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not gonna tell him that. I'm just gonna leave that out there, because I was trying to trick him into doing stuff with me the other day, and I figured if I kept talking, maybe he would just assume he already agreed, and then we wouldn't have an issue. So he figured it out as I was. He's like, "Wait, did I even accept this? Maybe." Minfollow would have been proud of me. Actually, she probably would be very angry with me because I failed, but I tried.
See, you took the wrong approach. You should have taken the Talos approach. Just throw an axe.
Talos hates elves. Yeah.
Are there elves in that game?
That's what they should. We should do a mod for Skyrim and I'll just do the voice of the priest in in Whiterun. Yeah, I'll just voice over him and do all that stuff, and I'll do it in my 36 Lessons voice. It'll be fun.
Talos the Unerring.
Talos the Unerring. Yes, we should. That'd be fun. Actually, that would really be fun. I should get a script and just do it. Anyway, you can follow everything we do, dungeoncrawlernetwork.com. Check us out, Facebook, YouTube, Patreon /Dungeon Crawler Network. Pretty much anywhere you got there. Check out all of our other shows, including our newest show, From the Ashes for Ashes of Creation. We do that weekly now. We're up to 20 episodes already, which is really awesome. Check out our bi-weekly MMO podcast, The Dungeon Crawlers. So that's awesome. And of course, I should have planned this out because I was going to say something, but then I sat there and thought, well, maybe they'll think like I'm dating the entire team. Because the way I had some endearing terms for these guys because they're awesome. But check out our Saga of Leucemia live stream and video cast, Tavern Talk, because they are an amazing group of people, all part-time developers who are working on their passion project, their MMO, Saga of Leucemia. And I love working with these guys. I really do. They are amazing. They are showing up to, and I know this is gonna be kind of weird, so give me a second while I pull up the email because I really think they deserve some. I know this is an ESO show, but you know what? You're listening to Dungeon Crawler Network. You get to listen to everything that I do, so I don't really care. If you don't like it, well, go find, I was going to say go find another ESO podcast, but you probably already listened to Elder Scrolls Off the Record, so good luck finding any others. Sorry, that was dark. They are showing up to the Austin Game Conference, and they're going to be showing off their game, Saga of Leucemia, on the 20th. So they have the Intel Game Dev Showcase on the 20th, and they're one of the 10 finalists on the night of the 20th for September. So definitely check them out. They'll also have their alpha servers live from the 20th all the way till the end of the 22nd. Show them some love, guys. They are really awesome people. They're all in our Discord. And I mean, obviously, if you're watching this show, you know Aloha Wendy. Like, you have to know her if you follow ESO. She is their community manager. So go support her as well and what they're doing. So definitely amazing people to work with. I love them to death. They are the best. Check them out. And of course, check out our show that we do is a collaboration with them because they come on our show. I get developers on the show every single time and we get to talk to them and they're amazing. So thank you so much. I know it's a long rant. We got a lot of stuff here at Dungeon Crawler Network, but we're just here to keep you entertained. So we really appreciate it. Thank you. And I guess we'll see you in Tamriel. Later, everybody.
Have a good night.
When Akatosh slew Lorcan, he ripped his heart right out. He hurled it across Tamriel, and the heart was heard to shout, red diamond, the heart and soul of men. Red diamond, protect us till the end. The laughing heart sprayed blood afar, a gout on Seer it fell, and like a dart shot to its mark down in an alien well. Magic effused the Lorcan blood to crystal red and strong. Then wild elves cut and polished it down to Chimel at a ball. Red diamond, the heart and soul of men. Red diamond, protect us till the end. When elves lost Nirn to men, Akatosh gave the stone to Saint Alesh in token of her right to sit the throne. Red diamond, the heart and soul of men. Red diamond, protect us till the end. Red diamond, protect us till the end.